we're going to be talking about prioritization, because in life and in business, often what ends up happening is you get consumed by being busy. And we talk about that in my book, Words Fucking Matter, how detrimental the word busy can be because we are not prioritizing things. So here's the deal. People often struggle with and suffer from this paralysis by analysis, this idea of being busy, the idea of being comfortable, doing what you always have done, or doing what comes normal and natural. And what ends up happening is you do not reach your goals. So people have these BHAGs. I love a good BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. The goal you have needs to scare you. When it doesn't scare you, it means it's not big enough. In order to attack and take on this dragon within your life, this big, hairy, audacious goal, you need to break it down into smaller chunks and then prioritize taking those things on. So I'll talk about myself, being very open and honest. Going into 2019, I wanted to be a keynote speaker. I did a TEDx. I made keynote speaking a priority. And I had some keynotes lined up and different things lined up. And then the pandemic hit. And then I got away from it. I've done Young Guns for years. I've done all these other things. I've been creating content on LinkedIn. And I prioritized myself, putting myself out there. And yet I wasn't very niched down. And now I wrote a book, and now my priority is sharing the lessons learned in the book, being conversational in the book, because I talk about in the book, let's have a conversation. Let's have an argument or disagreement on how we see the world. And now this show here, this weekly 15, 20 minutes is a priority. I'm coming to you every week, 1:30. Next week, heads up, next week we will be changing it to 3:30 Central. I want to put that out there so that I can make it so that I can align my priorities with my schedule. This is still a priority, and moving it 2 hours to the right allows me to prioritize it versus I was doing two things at the same time, which we can't bend time and space. So I've now made it a priority. Leads us to lesson one. I talked about how simplicity leads to consistency. A lot of times when it comes to prioritization, the reason why we get caught up in the word busy is because we want to do all things for all people at all times and always be successful and never fail. And I'm no different than you when I see the world that way. Challenge is to sit down and say, what are my priorities? Mark Twain is famous, right? The two most important days in your life are the day that you're born and the day you figure out why. I was asked a few weeks ago, what is my why? And it was out of nowhere in a text message. And without hesitating, I responded and I said, my why is to be so unapologetically myself that others feel the need to do the same. Not be Andy, be you. Be the most amazing person you are. And the way that I found that for me, and I talked about this in my TEDx years ago, was transforming my pain into passion to define my purpose. So I went back and I said, okay, what are my priorities in this world? And there's really only a handful of them. What are the things that govern my decisions? So my challenge to you is let's use the 3P methodology here, right? What's a pain point you have in your life? It might not have to be this huge thing, right? Maybe you're struggling at your job. You hate your job, right? It's a pain point. Okay. So now how do you get passionate about your job to find your purpose? Is your purpose to be working there? Is your purpose to be working in that role? Is your purpose to be working for the company? Is your purpose to be working for that boss? Is that your purpose in this world? And if not, how can you take that pain point and find a new purpose? Maybe it's finding a new job. Maybe it's starting a company or starting your own company. Maybe it's taking on a hobby or doing something outside of work that stimulates you so then you're motivated to go back to work. Starting with a pain point is a beautiful place to start. We as humans, we have a negative comparison. We often look for the negative in this world, which kept us alive and served us quite well for millennium. And then we get to this point now where it no longer always serves us to look at the negative. So how do we use that negative comparison, that negative mindset as a strength? Look at things that frustrate you. Maybe it's a relationship you have that's frustrating you. What can you learn from that relationship? What can you do about it? What is your purpose in that relationship? Is your purpose to grow that relationship and be more present and be better? Or is your purpose to get out of that relationship? The reason I often talk about quitting jobs or leaving a relationship is because loyalty isn't a huge priority for me. I've seen a lot of people make a lot of poor decisions, myself included, based off of loyalty. I argue and I will challenge you to be selfish and be self-serving. Do what is a priority for you, because when you're at your best, you can be better for others. You can be better for your significant other, your children, your place of employment, or your company. When you prioritize yourself, fix you. What does that look like for you? Again, being very open and honest and transparent. I did a podcast a little bit earlier today, and we were talking about the importance of mental and physical health. I talked about this last week when I was recording season 2 of the Masters of Home Service podcast with Jobber. We did an entire episode of the importance of being mentally and physically prepared for the day. Last year, I threw my back out and I struggled. My back was bothering me for weeks. And I was immobilized mentally some days because I was so concerned about getting out of bed. And then I would come in here into work and I was so concerned with my back, I'm not focused. So what did I do this last year? I made a prioritization of my physical health. So now before I even start my work week, I already have 2 days scheduled at the gym, 2 days scheduled at physical therapy. Now, thankfully, they're within 5 minutes of each other, and I schedule them back to back so I can maximize my time while prioritizing my physical body, right? This vessel that gets my mind and my spirit and soul through the world by prioritization. So I do it with a calendar. I also do it with a whiteboard. On my whiteboard, there are the ideals. This is what I'm going to achieve in this world, and I have it right there. Spoke with a gentleman last week that he said he has goal boards, which are different than vision boards. Vision boards these are the things I desire. He has these big goal boards. This is what my life will look like someday. It'll be like a thing. It's that $100,000 sport car he always wanted. And every time he looks at it, he says, am what I'm doing right now getting me closer to that or not? It's that little self-check. Realign your priorities. It's the reason why it's always best and great to have pictures of your loved ones. I have a picture of my daughter in my Jeep. I spent a lot of time in my Jeep. I do a lot of thinking in my Jeep. And I got a picture of my daughter and her soccer this year. And that's reprioritizes, right? Is the time and energy and money I'm putting in right now here today going to be the best for her? And if so, what does that look like? So let's look at some of these tips. I said from the top, simplicity leads to consistency. Find a pain point. Attack your BHAG. Those are the first 3 things you need to do. And then how are we going to do that? We have vision boards where you take one of these, your BHAG, and you break down the goals and you put these small little chunks that you need to accomplish, small little ideals of what your life looks like, right? Then you can have a big goal board or a dream board, like this one thing that says, this is what my life looks like when I do all these tactical steps. I talk about SMART goals. Everything you should write down should be a SMART goal. Singular, measurable, obtainable, relevant, time-bound. I was very encouraged the other day. I spoke with a couple of teenagers. I was giving kids a ride home from hockey, and they knew what SMART goals were. At 15, I didn't know what a SMART goal was. I don't think I knew what a SMART goal was until I was in my mid to late 20s. So when I talk about goals, I'm always wanting to make sure we're talking about SMART goals. When you're struggling, figuring out what prioritization might be, when you're struggling finding that pain point. I'm going to shift this now into language a little bit, right? And this is the tool that I use to get from this is the pain point, this is the ideal, how do I get there? I talk about this in my book. One of the things that I do from a prioritization standpoint, I eliminate words that no longer serve me. Another tool I use, start, stop, continue methodology of change. Stopping the things that are not serving you is a hell of a place to start. Talk about in the military, everywhere is better than the kill zone. What is currently your kill zone? What is that pain point? How do you get out of the kill zone? So start, stop, continue methodology of change is a beautiful thing. As you're continually looking into that, one word that constantly pops up in my life and so many other people's lives that we eliminate in my book, Words Fucking Matter, is the word should. We've all said it. I should do this. You should do that. We shouldn't do that. And I talk about my book, don't should on yourself, don't should on others, and don't shouldn't all over the place. The lesson I talk about in my book is should, could, can, will. Here's what ends up happening. You take this should, this thing that's an obligation, this pain point, this thing that's dirty and nasty, and you transform it into a could. Okay, that's what I should be doing in my life, right? I should lose weight. Well, could I do that? What is the opportunity? What can I do now? What is the possibility? When I talk about could, let's live in this world where time and money, you have unlimited resources. What could you do with unlimited resources? Let's build this up. Let's drive some optimism. Oh, I could hire a personal trainer and I could have a personal chef that comes in my house every day, and all my meals could be laid out for me. And I could go to the gym 5 days a week, and I could do it right at 10 a.m. when I had my breakfast and I had my coffee, and I feel good because I don't have any obligations, because I don't need to work because I have unlimited money. It's okay. Personal trainer, personal chef, go to the gym when you want every day. All right. I like it. That's what you could do. Let's talk about possibilities, right? You got a 9 to 5, personal trainers are expensive and personal chefs are expensive. Okay. Right. And I don't have money and time to have a life coach following me around 24 hours a day telling me not to eat the cheese. Got it. All right. That's fair. And I love cheese. All right. So let's talk about what can you do? What is a possibility? Okay. Can I go to the grocery store and get my own meals and get recipes and meal prep the night before? Yes, I can do that. All right. Can I join a gym that has either group exercise where I know I'm going to be motivated by others, or can I get can I afford the time to have a private trainer, right? If that's what works best. Okay, I can do that. All right. And okay, 10 a.m., probably not great because I got to work, right? What are the times during nights and weekends, right? When I work on myself, what are those times where I'm not very productive? What are times where I'm otherwise scrolling Facebook? What are the times where I'm not doing things with my family or friends that I need to be working on myself? Okay, let's say Monday nights at 6 p.m. because there's not much going on Monday. Okay, so now we have this possibility. We have 3 different SMART goals. Now, what are you willing to do? What commitment are you going to make? Jordan Peterson talks about, you want to fix your life, start with your sock drawer. Make one commitment, right? If your life is a mess, can you organize your sock drawer? Can you put your laundry away instead of sitting in the basket? I can tell you, I came home from vacation last night and I washed all my laundry and put it all away before I went to bed. That's what I did yesterday. I did not open my laptop. That's what I did. And this morning I felt great because I accomplished something simple that in the past I would have just let sit there. I would have just lived out of my bag for a week working with the clean laundry. I would have waited till I ran out of underwear before I did the next batch of laundry. I know me, right? But what was my commitment yesterday? My commitment was simple. I'm going to not go to bed until the laundry's done. And so when I finally did a little laundry, you know what I did? I dumped it on my bed. And it sat there for an hour while I putzed and did other things. And then when I went back to my bedroom, I go, oh yeah, there you go. There's that laundry. Mike Holowitz, who wrote the book Profit First, he talks about prioritization. He puts his gym shoes or tennis shoes, depending on what area of the country you're from, where you call them gym shoes or tennis shoes or sneakers, another good one. He puts them on the toilet seat. So every morning he wakes up to pee. He has to pick up his gym shoes and he holds them in his hand, puts them in the sink, washes his hand, and goes and works out. He does that before he does anything else because working out to him is priority. He didn't say he liked it. He didn't say he didn't want to do it. He said, I need to do it, and I'm going to have a SMART goal. System, or I keep saying system. Singular, measurable, obtainable, relevant, time-bound. Singular, put shoes on the toilet seat. Measurable, yes or no. Did I do or did I not do that? Is it obtainable? Absolutely. Is it relevant? Yeah. He needs his shoes to work out. Is it time-bound? Every day. That was the difference, and that is the difference that I talked about from the top of the show here. Simplicity leads to consistency. Your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal that scares you is complicated. How do you break it down into small chunks? Simply by taking one bite at a time. It's like eating an elephant. It is awfully complicated. It might be difficult. These are facts. How do you simplify it? Where's my book available? Book is available. Words fucking matter. Retrain your brain to use language that serves you. I'm going to get into focus at some point because it's focused on my face. I guess I'll put it here. Is available on Amazon. It's also available on my website, www.andywines.com. Read it and let me know what you think. I'm utilizing the book. What resonates with people? What is systematic and thorough and repeatable that others are latching onto? Because that's what I'm going to now use. And that's what I'm going to talk about week in and week out. The things in the book that resonates with people. And this is as I develop a workshop and I develop keynote speaking, all revolves around what does the audience respond to? So I made a priority to write a book. I made a priority to spend 15 to 20 minutes every Monday with you guys to have this conversation, right? Because my BHAG is simple. It's 3 parts. I want speaking to be my full-time gig, right? That's the thing, right? So the 3 major goals I have are share the stage with Jordan Peterson, go on the Joe Rogan podcast, have a speaking career in excess of $500,000 a year. My goal is to accomplish all 3 of these by the end of 2025. Now, I can keep talking about it, or I can DTFT, do the fucking thing. And that's what I'm doing. 1 show at a time, 1 watcher at a time. Last week I had 2 people watching. Now we have 4 people watching. We've doubled it. Some may look at me and say, oh, it's only 4 people. Like, why are you wasting your time? I'm not. I'm prioritizing, giving myself to others so that I can be on the Joe Rogan podcast. I can have that full-time speaking career in excess of $500,000 business, and I can join Jordan Peterson on the stage. All comes down to being vulnerable, being uncomfortable, taking the bites one at a time, following the methodology of should, could, can, will, so you will accomplish your goals. You will slay the dragon. You will get to the mountaintop of your BHAG. I do appreciate you, everyone that's been listening in, the people that have been sending me messages, the people that in real life that have been saying and telling me what it meant to them. Thank you. Please continue to give me that feedback. The more that you guys invest in yourselves, the more you become contributors to societies, not only consumers, but also contributors, the more it'll challenge you and other creators to create for the benefit of us all. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for another great week. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week here on Experience Andy Wines Live.